This is Beatbox Battle Network. Love, peace, and beatbox. You're coming straight to you. This is Kid Lucky. The first time that I was making vocal sounds, I was really a young kid, and I would just sit there and just, you know, make sounds, and I would do stuff like I would get beat up by some of the older boys, you know what I mean, for making sounds at night, you know, before I went to bed, and they would come and they would, like, you know, they would attack me and, like, you know, be punching me in my stomach and, you know, and everything like that. It's a miserable day. It's a miserable day. Then I got locked up again in an institution, and while I was, you know, in isolation by myself, I would sit there and, you know, make sounds and make music. I am locked up here, but I just don't care. They can't do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. But when I get out of here, I'm gonna be everything that they said that I cannot be. Then as I'm sitting there, Janet Jackson comes on, right? And it's her first hit, Rhythm Nation, right? And the video is like this boy sitting there crying, you know what I mean? And, you know, didn't know what he was gonna do with his life, and, you know, and then Janet Jackson comes up and she starts singing these songs, you know, starts singing the song, you know, we are a part of the Rhythm Nation. And, you know, and I was like, and I'm watching this video and I said, I wanna be a performer. And so I started writing my own, like, plays, and I started writing my own poetry and spoken word. And in the shower, by that time though, you know, I already knew what beatboxing was, you know, so from there, I was sitting there being in the shower going, it's the time, my flow, I do what I do, what I do, keep it real, I jump it back, I feel so. And I saw, you know, the movie Beat Street, and I saw this dude, right, that it was the Treacherous 3, right? And they were doing this whole rap jingle right there, this Christmas jingle. They called it the rap Christmas jingle. And, you know, while doing it, this guy comes from underneath their legs, right? He comes from underneath, and he starts doing these crazy percussive sounds, right? And I'm sitting there like, then I knew his name, and I was like, Dougie Fresh, you know what I'm saying? Wow, you know, and I was just bugging about that. I was like, wow, that's fresh. You know, from then on, like, I knew that there was somebody else who was making sounds that was similar to me, you know? And so, you know, I would just keep on doing it and doing it. I keep it busy. I bring your whole world dizzy. Isn't it amazing? The way we get it down, to drop it back and get the sound coming with the back and move it all around. And I bring it back, all right, like that. When I hit you with the Mac time, able to jump back with the fat rhyme. If you try to sound like Dougie Fresh, then you would get dissed by anybody who was watching, you know, who knew about Dougie, and he was known. So if you try to sound like him, you would get dissed. If you tried to sound like Buff, you would get dissed. If you try to sound like Reddy Roxy, you would get dissed. If you try to sound like Jockbox, you would get dissed. And it wouldn't be beatboxers dissing you. It would be the actual audience and people dissing you. And the beatboxer that you stole it from could diss you right there on the stage, and your career was over. And this is why it was so important that cats came up with original work. You know what I mean? And this stands true to this day. You know what I mean? In New York. My flow, my beat, to the street. I bring it back, I take it down, bring it back. I started up, you know, a company called Beatboxer Entertainment, and with the beatboxers that I knew, right? And then all of a sudden, all these beatboxers started calling me from all over New York. Like, yo, what's up? How you doing? Yo, you setting up for real? I want to get down, this, that, and the other. So I was like, word, that's hard body. You know what I'm saying? Yo, let's do this. So we brought all these people together. Scratch was coming, you know what I mean? Doug was coming. We had Baba Israel, you know what I'm saying? We had like, you know, we had Afra, you know what I mean? Because Afra from Japan was living in New York at the time. And so we had Afra on the bill, and we had Akim Funk Buddha, you know, and Taylor McFerrin, Bobby McFerrin's son, you know what I mean? So we had like a roster. We were like ready, right? And so I'm doing the show, I get it together, I'm ready. All the beatboxers had a bet going that Dougie Fresh was not gonna show up. So I'm sitting there on the phone, right? And I called him, he's like, yeah, I'm coming down to the show. Where is it at? You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, he's like, I'm in the East Village, I'm right around where the address is, but you know, I don't know where it is. So I'm sitting there telling him, and I'm like, yo, you gotta go on, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, I'm giving him the time, and it's like, okay, you know, and literally, this is what I said, I kid you not, I said, yo, Doug, yo, I was like, you got 6 minutes. It really was, and I was so caught up in it, I was like, Doug, you got 6 minutes to come up to the stage, right? And he's like, yes, I know, 6 minutes. I was like, and so Doug came, and he gave a whole speech about how, like, you know, the history of beatboxing and where it came from and how he came up with it, and where the word came from, you know, and talking about how Barry B, you know what I mean, coined the phrase, you know, and all of this, like, way before, 83, you know what I'm saying? Way before that time, right? I flow, at the time, I drop beats, flavor, jumping back, the rhyme flow, able to catch you back, you never know, here I go, I drop the flows, these bombs, everyone, the street, I can't be beat, can't be, my flow is dangerous, I remain the best, I cannot be contested, my flow is dangerous and kind, I fuck up you and your mind, the crew, what you want to do, I step it up and rip it up, man, I give it up bad, like that, god damn. I coined this beat rhyming because I wanted to be able to take spoken word and I wanted to be able to take beatboxing and to combine them both. I was already doing beatboxing and singing, you know what I mean, very early in the game, like, around 1996, but I went back to just doing like beatboxing, but then I wanted to like go back into doing words again, and I wanted to combine them both. So a lot of the stuff that I did was, in a very like, slowed down tempo, like my flavor, my mind, I think about the time, when I was locked up and gone, that's why I'm making this song, I made the beat for you, I made these words for you, I came to rip it, I came to flip it, the flow. I came to let you know the way we let it go, the way we roll, the way we drop, and hit the soul. To me, beat rhyming had two styles that I had. I had the let's take it back, flow, and I could flip it back and go what you never thought before. I'm just so much and more, and I could skip it and take it back to the top, and I could do that, and I could just come out on some raw like step, rock, hip hop when I flow, I get the crowd caught up, and yes, now you know we get it down, all around. When the time, again, rhythm back for your whole soul. The kid takes able to control. You like the way I'm taking, the whole beatboxing, rhyming, sound effects, scratching, you know what I mean, and just blending it into one. And there is no boundaries on this, so no one can define it yet. You know what I mean? There's going to be somebody, I'm sure, who's going to come out with something different. You know what I mean? Something that, is going to be, this is what I'm adding to it. You know what I mean? I'm adding this particular, style to it, this particular way of doing it. So I'm excited to see where beat rhyming will go. When I was in London, I had a chance to meet this cat, Bilo. And Bilo was talking about the same thing that I was talking about, and B-Lo was hyper. I mean, this dude was like all over the place, and you had to respect that energy. He had a map on his wall, right, with like all the points and and the places and who he had contacts with and everything. And my wife at the time turned to me and she goes, "That's you," because I had the same thing, I was like, "Yeah, I know." And from then on, it was like, me and Bilo were like one and the same. You know what I mean? I was just in America and he was in Europe. When I came out for the battle out there, in Germany, out here in Germany, it was it was mind-boggling. I was on the jury, you know what I mean? And I, somehow, some way, it became my deciding vote. You know what I mean? Against and I chose Joel Turner because I felt that Joel Turner musically had did a little bit better than Roxy Loops. But I kind of felt that if Roxy Loops had stayed doing what he was doing, he would have actually have won it. Because what people forget was that Roxy Loops changed up his whole style to try to be like Joel Turner. He got real serious. He got real serious. He was really into it. But the way Roxy Loops won all the other battles was because he clowned everybody. He totally clowned everybody. He would make fun of them. He would diss them. You know what I mean? He did he would show his butt. He did all of this stuff. It was he gave a show. You know what I mean? And the minute that he went up against Joel Turner, he said, "I'm gonna act like Joel and try to be just as serious and everything as that." And he shouldn't have did that. The International Beatbox Championship is gonna be ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's gonna be sick, and I'm gonna be there, and I'm not judging this time. I'm hosting and chilling, and you know what I mean? I get to sit down and meet with the beatboxers and network with them and communicate with them. And some people who may have had bad blood at the time, they can get a chance to air it out to me. You know what I mean? The whole boom. Because I'm all about the truth. Beatbox Battle TV. Beatbox Battle TV. Beatbox Battle TV. Beatbox Battle TV.